The obligatory transition, guys. The winds of change blew through the conference this offseason. We saw 3 new coaches, and I think you could create a pretty strong argument that 2 of them would have to be in the discussion for Coach of the Year to this point, Bill O'Brien and Urban Meyer. I think you could build a case for Jerry Kill, could probably build a case for Pat Fitzgerald as well. But if you had to pick just one, continuing our theme, C-Mart, who would it be?
Well, this is an intriguing question because when you look at it, guys, it's kind of like the old multiple choice exams where you have 2 final answers and both are right, but you just look for the one that's a little more correct. And for me, that answer is Urban Meyer. When you bring him into the Big Ten, you have the expectation, certainly the national perspective. He makes it relevant because a lot of people deem him to be the savior for the conference. And when you look at Ohio State, let's just deal with the facts. 6-7 last year, this year 6-0. He's created an offensive identity behind his man Braxton Miller. Of course, the compelling emotional argument will be Billy O'Brien, but when you look at the empirical data, the facts, I'm going to go with Urban Meyer.
That offense has gotten dramatically better. It really has made
it has
a huge
identity.
impact. I always preferred matching to multiple choice, unless they threw in a couple extra ones on the matching column. That would really throw you off. Who are you picking?
Well, I would definitely not go for none of the above here because there have been some good jobs. Based on C-Mark's logic, I will go for the emotional guy. I will go for Bill O'Brien because I think we almost forget where this team was after 2 games. 0-2, and everybody was talking about 2 things. All the players who had left, including Anthony Farrah and Silas Redd, and the postseason ban. Well, so guess what Bill O'Brien did? He pulled his team together, and he has somehow turned this postseason ban almost to an advantage where his players are so focused on these regular season games. They know there are very few chances left to win, very few chances left to impress the NFL scouts, and look what he's done. Won 4 games in a row, great playbook, and against Northwestern, bottled up Kane Coulter and really confused Trevor Siemian.
It's been a while since I've taken any kind of test, but I do remember in the multiple choice, sometimes, as you said, it would be none of the above. But I also remember there being one of the answers being A and B. You could actually pick 2 of the above. you know, which is probably what I would do. I think both of you guys have picked the coaches of the year. But again, I'm going to use the same criteria to separate the coaches from the quarterbacks. I think the fact, and you mentioned, Chris, that Urban took over a team that had a losing record last year, and they're ranked 8th in the country right now. That's extraordinary. And I know Bill did this as well. But how about this with Urban? He didn't bring a staff with him. In fact, Stan Drayton and Zach Smith, and Zach was a GA for him at Florida, are the only 2 guys on his staff that have ever worked with him before, and I think that shows strong leadership, as it does with Bill O'Brien putting together his first staff. So again, I would pick Urban over Bill, but I think those are the 2 right guys.
Now, if we're going to stay on the whole testing front for this analogy, I'm going to say now, if we're grading on a curve, let's not forget Bill O'Brien had never been a head coach. And he was talking about this earlier in the week. I asked him, he said, I've only been a head coach for 6 games. Starting at Penn State, he said, is like drinking water from a fire hose. So he's had a lot thrown at him, and he's obviously done great.
And the real test, the real test, though, for Penn State is, I think, going to come down the line in these next couple of years. Because, you know, when we were there, I mean, we thought this was going to be a pretty good team. Maybe have slightly exceeded expectations. Yeah.
I think the expectations that they've exceeded is what they're doing offensively.
Right.
In Ohio State, though, folks, we can't crystal ball it, but they could go 12-0. I mean, when you look at their schedule, so.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and that'll be an incredible story if they get there and start, you know, if you get some losses ahead of them in that AP poll and all of a sudden they're jockeying potentially to be #1 in the country and ineligible for the postseason.